All right, what are we talking about today, Dan?
We're talking about Love Letter and all of its various iterations. So, yeah, I mean, I think the key here is most people are going to know what Love Letter is. It's a
By now, I hope.
sort of social deduction game where you are guessing often what's in another player's hand, and there's a finite number of things. And it's good old-fashioned VPs, first person to 3 wins. It plays very well at 2 players, just as well at 4 to 5 players. It's a very small, compact experience.
Yeah, I like this. Just comes in this little pouch
Very
here.
cheap game. Usually you can get it for $15 or even less, depending on where you're picking it up at. And yeah, it's just a great game and one of the great start of your game night games. So it should really be in everyone's collection. But they have these reskins and these other versions.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tried most of them. I don't believe you've tried. Oh, you've tried the Star Wars.
I played all of them.
Yeah, you've played all of them as well, and I've played probably quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Of all of them, and I have opinions on them, and I think it's probably worth sharing with our audience.
Do you want to go through each one individually?
I think we start with just Love Letter, which we've just described, and then we'll touch on how each one's different from that, and how they're the same as well. Because there is a lot of samey and a fair amount different too. So people can figure out, well, which one is the right one for them. So right off the bat, the original Love Letter is my second favorite Love Letter of these 4. It's the one that I like the second most, and I think it is the
It's your first love.
It is my first Love Letter. Yeah. Anyway.
So they...
Won't get into high school girlfriend stuff.
Do we want to talk about the game just in case people have never played it before?
Yeah. Let's just get a quick how you play Love Letter.
Essentially, Love Letter is a bunch of numbered cards here from 0 to 9, I believe is the highest one. And the premise of the game is that you are vying for the love of the princess.
Yeah.
And you are trying to get a love letter to the princess. So each of these people actually resembles what person you have given your letter to at the end of the game.
The card in your hand at any given moment is the person holding your personal love letter to the princess. That's the theme.
So we've got the king, 9 is the princess herself, the handmaid is 4, and so all these cards have abilities.
Yeah.
So on your turn, everybody will just have 1 card traditionally. You draw 1, and now you have to play one of the 2 cards. So the handmaid, for instance, makes you completely immune. So at the end of the game, you have either kicked out all of the other players and you win, or you have the highest value card.
Absolutely.
So how does this differ from these other variations?
Well, let's move on to Marvel Love Letter. This is one of the more recent implementations. They keep it in this kind of tight, neat little pouch you can carry it around with you, but there's much more cards in this. This is more asymmetric. You actually have 2 teams. And one team is going to involve Thanos, drawing from a deck of his own cards, which tend to be a little more powerful than the Avenger cards. And then the other team is the Avengers. And you have to have at least 3 people to really reasonably play this game. There's rules for playing with 2 players, but if you just have 2 players, you should be playing Classic Love Letter, honestly. There's a lot of samey mechanics in here, things like the way the guard works in Love Letter is you just point at a person and shout out a number, and if they're holding that number in their hand, they're eliminated for that particular round. And that's all well and good because if you know Love Letter, you'll know how to play this rather quickly. But instead of eliminating players in this, you actually deal damage to the other team, whether it be the other players dealing damage to Thanos or Thanos dealing damage to the other players. And they have these cute little markers so you can track the health. And essentially the goal is to knock the other team down to 0 health. And that's how you win. So in that case, this is probably the most different from original Love Letter. It's also kind of my least favorite. I like this game, and there's a very much a kind of a flavor aspect as a Marvel fan that I very enjoyed. I'm glad I own it. I'm glad I've played it. But if I'm choosing a Love Letter experience, this is probably the last one I'm going to choose, unless we're all in a very Marvel mood, a new Marvel movie just came out, or I'm introducing to a player who I know very much likes Marvel, then this is the one I would bust out. If you're not just a big Marvel fan, there's just better experiences on this table, honestly.
I think I'd like to give it a try with like 6 players though, or a larger group setting.
The most I've played it with is 4 and 3 versus 1 Thanos. It feels pretty good.
It feels pretty good. Yeah, it actually feels like a battle where you're fighting Thanos, and then he's just like wrecking them one at a time.
I don't want to bag on it too much. There's great moments in this game when you're Thanos and you get all the Infinity Stones together and you get to just look at the other players and snap and declare victory. That's a great moment. They've done a great job of engineering that moment, letting it happen just rarely enough. There's something similar to that in the Lovecraft Love Letter, which we'll get to. Spoiler, it's my favorite. But yeah, it's good. It's worth a try. If you're into Love Letter and you like Marvel, it's a good purchase. Again, none of these games are expensive. That one's, again, $15.
All right, what are we talking about next? Star Wars or Lovecraft?
I think we got to go into the Star Wars one.
Okay.
This one is brand new. This just came out in the past week. This is actually Jabba's palace. And so the politics and intrigue on this one are heavily based on the events of Return of the Jedi, which is obviously
So they all
one of
have
the
the
greatest films ever
same
made.
like victory tokens, just themed differently for the game.
This is actually more like original Love Letter than Marvel Love Letter is. There's a lot of similar attributes to it, but they do have 2 teams, but we're drawing from the same deck.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Rebels and Palace characters all inside this deck of roll cards, right? And they do the Lovecraft, or not the Lovecraft. They do the Love Letter-y type actions that you've come to know from Love Letter and from Marvel Love Letter. But there's usually a little augmented when you get the Rebel cards, which are rarer. And so this gets interesting when you get into the rotating win conditions. So the end of game win condition can change.
That's the main difference with this game than the other one is you have 4 different end of game win conditions.
There's the classic Exalted one, which is just highest card in your hand, which is the same, but the other 3 might be highest combined total of played Palace cards, highest number of Rebel cards in your hand, and then sometimes you can just have 2 players. It's the highest Rebel card and the highest Palace card.
Yeah. And the last one here is the highest sum of Palace cards in hand.
Yeah. The thing I've noticed with this one is if you don't have a high player count, the agenda, as they call them, the win condition, is often not going to matter. There's a lot of ways to eliminate players, more than in the original Love Letter.
It's a lot more.
You have the Rancor, which just it's a great card. Makes everyone count up from 1, and the people with the lowest card get eliminated. Minus Han Solo, who is, of course, the 0 frozen in Carbonite, which mirrors the spy in regular Love Letter.
We did have a beautiful game where Jabba the Hutt just slayed Luke Skywalker. And that was pretty thematic.
My favorite was I kept challenging with the Rancor because you when you use the 3 card, which we affectionately refer to as the Baron, because in original Love Letter it's the Baron, and it's you and I compare cards, and whoever has the lower one is eliminated from the round. And I had the Rancor 6, pretty high card, and a 3, so I played the 3 and I challenged someone, and it was Luke. And of course, Luke slayed the Rancor
and Luke's a
to
7.
eliminate me from the game because Luke is a 7. And that happened to me twice in a row, and I thought that was very appropriate. So this game generates moments from the movie, just like the Marvel one does. But this one's a little faster, a little more fun, probably because it's closer to the original.
Yeah, and if you've been watching Boba Fett on Disney, a lot of the art and the style of these cards, it's just going to hit right at home. You're going to feel really good with this game.
Yeah, especially it is fresh. This content is fresh on everyone's mind, I think, because of the Boba Fett show. Lovecraft Love Letter. I mean, I don't have enough good things to say about this. They took the original formula of Love Letter, they put it in a top-notch packaging,
The
bigger
book
cards. Yeah, this kind of binded book look for the box is fantastic. There's this little magnetic clasp here, and then the cards come with their own special sleeves. You can't see
They're
this very well
oversized
from the
cards.
Oversized cards with great sleeves, and then a great mechanic called Insanity. And so whenever you find in here one of these green cards, like the Shining Trapezohedron,
Trapezohedron, obviously.
And you play one, you become insane, and then on your next turn, you have to flip on a sanity check to see if the next card is a green card, and if it is, you're eliminated.
Right.
That means so there's a lot of eliminations in this game, even more in Star Wars, even more in
There's the most eliminations in this game because you can eliminate yourself.
Yeah, you almost always win win by the other players being eliminated.
Right. Now, what happens when this is probably the one I've played the least of.
Yes.
But what happens when you go insane? Don't you get a more powerful ability?
Yes, yeah, there's green text on these cards. The first time you play a green card, doesn't matter. But after that, they do very powerful things. And in particular, the higher the number, the more crazy it gets. For example, for the Shining Trapezohedron, it says if you ever have another card with a number higher than 4 in your hand, you win the round. So basically, if you can play a green card and then get another card that's higher than 4 and then play this, you just eliminate the other players, you win the round.
Yeah, I just found another one, Cthulhu.
Yeah, this one's crazy.
If you have 2 or more insanity cards in your discard pile, then you win the round, and if not, you're just knocked out of the game.
It's not the round. Read it again.
Oh, you just win the game.
You win the whole game. So typically,
That's right.
you would have to collect 3 insane tokens to win the game, or 2 sane tokens, which you get by winning while sane or insane. And that's
good.
hard to do. But if you can manage this is that Thanos moment.
This is that one thing where
Yeah.
you hit it, and it's really difficult to do, but if you can make it do it.
It feels so good.
Victory.
And one of the reasons I like this better than Marvel is because they have similar levels of complexity. The Marvel love letter is a little more complex than plain love letter. This one's more complex than the Marvel one, but still in the range of. But they have this kind of cool Thanos win condition moment that's available to everyone.
Yeah, I like
Any
it.
player that
Yeah,
can
that's
get this in their hand, get 2 green.
And that
stones.
actually happened the last time
Yeah,
I played
it happened and it was amazing. It
It's
was
a great
amazing.
finish.
So yeah, highly recommend all these games. If you've never tried Love Letter, pick up classic Love Letter.
The
and then go
original is
from
probably
there.
the best to start with. It's
Yeah.
cheap. It's like what, $10, $11 on
I paid
Amazon?
$12 for it at the Gaming Goat.
Okay.
Yeah, if you bet it on Amazon, buy it on Amazon, it's going to be around that same price. I see a lot of game stores hold it for even 15. I say give them the $15. Take the game home. It's well worth the cost.
So if you had to rank them from 1 to 4, Lovecraft is number 1.
Yeah,
And then
Lovecraft.
we've got original.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Then Star Wars number 3.
Yes, yep.
And then sorry Marvel, but you came in 4th this time.
Yeah, that's my rankings. How are yours? The same?
I think I concur with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the slaughtering that goes on in Star Wars, but I felt like I need to play it with a bigger group, and it might even move into number 1.
Well, I'm into that. We should do that tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thanks for checking us out.
Yeah, this has been Guilt Free Game Reviews. Have a good one.